This program was made possible through generous support from the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Kamehameha Schools and Bishop Estate, the Hawaii Community Foundation, the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts, and the Gabordi Foundation. Passing time obscures the past. The sun has gone down long since.
For Hawaiians, this is a time of Hoʻokuʻikahi, of reconciling and reuniting descendants of the great Hawaiian chiefs who stood at the ramparts of this last great temple of state, built 200 years ago by Kamehameha the First. It is an ancient murmur whispered. It is a shout to assemble. It is in the retelling of our past that we honor our forefathers. They live through us. These are our songs and our stories. This is who we are.
Aia mahea ko'okuʻikahi wahi e hui puana.
Where is your meeting house? The place that you gather?
I Kawaihae ma Puʻukohola ka wahi pana e Hoʻokuʻikahi kako wapau.
It is at Kawaihae at Puʻukohola that we unify as one.
This is important for all Hawaiians and all Hawaiians of heart who have a heritage. This is important because heritage is a physical, tangible thing that we pass on from one another.
Victory to the, or forward to the heavenly host. And then,
When asked by our Polynesian cousins from Aotearoa in the late 1970s where our meeting houses were, we could only answer that we had our heiau, but many hadn't been used for generations. That changed in August of 1991 as Hawaiians from across the state gathered at Puʻukohola heiau to celebrate the bicentennial observance of its consecration by Kamehameha the Great, the first ali'i who unified the Hawaiian Islands. The celebration intended to bring two clans together who were historically torn, support those in search of their cultural roots, honor and affirm others continuing the practices of their kupuna, and invite all Hawaiians searching for a united voice to unify as one at this place. Polynesians from across the Pacific journeyed to Puʻukohola to support their kin. As Hawaiians came together to honor and reclaim certain traditional protocols at this heiau for the first time in 7 generations.
A nation was built here. Kamehameha started his campaign for sovereignty of unifying all the island. Then after that, it would take place. So here, 200 years later, we need to find ourselves and go back and say, look here, it gave us an identity. It gave us a cultural background. It gave us a historical background. It gave us a political background, economic, social background. We have a history. A nation was built here. The reason this particular heiau was built was predetermined by a great kahuna by the name of Puʻukohola.
The stake was the island. There, the property was the prize. The game played to utter loss. He strikes the goal. He counts double. He quickly counts what he has gained. 'Tis he who staked the land. He clasps his hands. He is the chief who staked the island. The divine Kawikiauli is that one. The divine Kamehameha the Great is this. This chant prophesies the great seer's advice to Kamehameha. Build a great house for the god and mark out its boundaries. War shall cease when one shall be laid upon the altar.
The death of one takes place and the birth of a nation takes place on this particular ground. So it's a history point, and it's one of the rare things we can say that this is a physical memorial that still exists. I don't want to use it as a memorial. Let's use it as a living place.
All this is symbolic, and yet symbols is what we all live by, all cultures. It's about reviving what really was put on hold and bringing it back one more time and moving forward.
I didn't do it because it was a show. It was something that was taught to me, and there was something that we lived with ever since I was a little boy.
I thought it was just a gathering of a one-day event. But as it turned out, it's for the rest of my life and the rest of my children's life.
You don't know what to expect there. You know it's going to be an enriching experience, but I didn't realize it would sink so deeply into my guts.
So overwhelming that it moves more inside emotionally than I can comprehend sometimes.
It has given our family a more culturally rooted background that has helped lift our family, and also being a part of this family, collectively we're lifting a nation and a people.
I don't know if it's changed my life so much as it's become.
It has become an important part of my life. It has become a path I have chosen to follow. Here's my gift, my heritage that I give back to my heirs.
mai o ko apau e nali na makaina mai kalahi kia kalakan mai kelapa ke apa e Hawaiʻi nui a te Hawaiʻi nui Hawaiʻi loa Hawaiʻi poro Hawaiʻi lula Hawaiʻi lalo I loko tamuano katalo.
The gods of our ancestors took many forms. From Ku is invoked the manifestation of Ku Nui Akea, the god of spiritual rightness. It was under his watch that construction of the mighty heiau began. The heiau was erected to house another manifestation of Ku, Ku Ka Ilimoku, Ku, the grabber of lands.
What we perceive here is a heiau that is looked upon as a heiau of war, but in actuality this is heiau for government.
This temple of state was to be called Puʻukohola, the hill of the whale, of the chosen day, of the coming. Rocks were passed hand to hand along human chains stretching for miles from sources great distances away, and brought to the hill of the whale. Kamehameha and the great chiefs labored until the heiau at Puʻukohola was completed. The walls rose up, and the paihumu, the fence of images, the anu'unu'u, oracle tower made from the ohia, the haku ohia and the hale malu, the shelter house for Ku Ka Ilimoku, were in place. All that remained to fulfill the prophecy was to consecrate the great heiau. Among Kamehameha's Big Island rivals was his cousin from Ka'u, Keola Ku'ahu'ula. He had been warring with Kamehameha for 9 years, seeking absolute rule over the same lands and people of the island of Hawaiʻi. A lasting peace was not possible while both were living. As the god Ku Ka Ilimoku reigned, tradition dictated that the consecration of the newly built heiau at Puʻukohola required a high sacrifice. Keola Ku'ahu'ula submitted to his fate by accepting Kamehameha's invitation to Kawaihae. Keola answered Kamehameha's summons to Kawaihae, knowing the time had come for him to answer for his transgressions. By accepting his fate, he saved his Ka'u people from invasion and annihilation. En route, Keola and his escort landed first at Hoʻonaunau for prayer and offering at Haleʻokeawe, the house where the sacred bones of high chiefs once lay. At Kiholo Bay, Keola Ku'ahu'ula made his last stop at a pond called Luahinewai. He bathed and performed the ritual umu'o in expectation of certain death. It was called the death of Uli, a sign that Keola knew he would die. It was his final act of defiance toward Kamehameha. It made him an imperfect sacrifice. The forces of Kamehameha and the armies of Kona and Kohala waited at Puʻukohola. Watching from the hill, they saw Keola Ku'ahu'ula and his men sail into the bay. Only one chief, Kamehameha, could fulfill destiny and unite the islands into one nation. As the canoes from Ka'u approached the landing at Kawaihae, Keola Ku'ahu'ula stood and cried out to Kamehameha, saying, "Here I am. Stand up and come forward, that we may greet each other," was Kamehameha's reply. As Keola Ku'ahu'ula stepped ashore, A swift thrust of a spear from Ke'eo Moku took the Ka'u chief's life. All those on the canoe were killed as well. The body of Keola was prepared in the older heiau, Mailekini, just below Puʻukohola, and then taken up to the altar to be offered to the god Kukailimoku. The sacrifice of this chief made the consecration of this temple complete. Bitter was the loss of Keola to the Ka'u people, and that bitterness has flowed down through the veins of 7 generations. Now, the 8th comes, seeking to staunch the flow, heal the wounds, and serve as a symbol of unification.
We are planning for those generations who are coming and preparing all this so that they have a foundation when they arrive.
In Hawaiian tradition, and in many other native cultures, spiritual completion occurs when the 7th generation hands down their knowledge of all things inherent and sacred to their children.
It is really important that we renew ourselves at the 7th generation, because the Lord Makani is waiting to blow away your memories. The Lord of the wind is going to erase everything you hold dear at the 8th generation. And who are you? You're the 8th generation. You can choose to be anything you want. You can let your legacy be blown away. You can forget things that are Hawaiian. You have been eating from the buffet of the world and neglect the plate of your ohana. Something's lost. Something can be gained. It's just right there. You have family who know how.
Hewai a o hewai, a choice or no choice. If you're Kanaka Maoli, people of this land, there is no choice but to do those things asked of you by your kupuna, your elders, to be who you are and to carry on the traditions.
You can be exercised and disciplined and put away all your fears and throw and catch the spears of life.
Meetings were held in communities from Ka'u to Kohala to discuss and recruit their participation in the August observance. Community members wanted to find out more about the history surrounding events at Puʻukohola and how they could use what they learned within their communities and families. Countless hours of research and study went into confirming the details relevant to all ceremonies and protocols. The customs, behaviors, code of conduct for rituals and ceremonies had to be understood by all.
For 7 generations since the bitterness of Ka'u and Kohala, the stories have been told from Ka'u about the great loss, and it was a great loss today. But try to remember that we go back, and we have people standing right in these ranks who descended to the two sides. These are cousins, and it's a family feud.
Yeah, like we did down there, right? It's Ku! Here, Ku! Oh, okay. As you go into it, they're going. All we doing, see, like, the oil is a thrust, see? The kui was to put the footstep, see?
Helmets, shoulder capes, and feather cloaks had to be made in the traditional manner for the Aloali'i, the court of the reigning chiefs. Shield capes of la'i, tea leaf, were woven for na koa, the standing platoon, and traditional weapons, pololu, battle pikes, ihe, javelins, pahoa, daggers, la'au palau, clubs, had to be fashioned and carved from traditional woods.
Nakua is not about being warlike, it is about being courageous enough to look at your spirit. It's about spirit. It's about spending yourself. And in the spending, you will learn more about yourself. Things you already are.
Now why? Now why? Ahia Kawaihae.
Symbolically, rebuilding this place and retelling its story through commemorative events since 1991 was and continues to be a life-changing event. Researching the history, recruiting participants, and making implements in as authentic a manner as possible challenges us to reclaim and recommit ourselves to being courageous. Years ago, some were skeptical, others fearful, and still others thought it couldn't be done. But the vision was maintained, prayed for, worked on, until it became a reality.
By serving everyone, we all have this interaction with each other, and only through interaction with each other can you perceive aloha. If you try to learn what aloha is all about by yourself, you have no one to bounce it off. You have no one's eyes to reflect back to you what it means. Growing in that sense is slow. So only through interaction with each other can we learn to grow.
All what we did at that particular time, it is not something like any pageantry that you see in Aloha Week. It signifies that whatever took place 100 years ago or 200 years ago, we were sort of saying that this is us. This is how we were a long time ago.
I don't know what drew me there. A friend of mine said, hey, let's go. He told me, you're gonna put on a mala, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. This is really happening. All these brothers are really into Hawaiiana. And these are the guys that have been into Hawaiiana for the last 25 years. And I went, and before I knew it, I was putting on a malo. So I just silently turned to my partner and I said, hey, if this turns out violent, I'm leaving. I'm just gonna drop this spear and I'm walking away. But it didn't. It turned out more powerful than that, because I found out who I was.
Part of the mission of Nakua was the vision to preserve our culture. And as a Nakua, every one of the members has committed to preserve it for 7 generations. Might not be in our lifetime, but it's going to carry on by teaching our families and our friends about the culture and also the history of the heiau that we protect. And I'm very strong into the culture now, and I'm very proud that I'm Hawaiian.
Eku mau mau, Ikua. Eku mau mau, Iku hululu, Ikalana lo, Ikua. Ikulana lo, Ikua. Ikua uki, Ikua ko, Ikua mau, mau kai ulu, uki kulia. Eku mau mau, Iku hululu, Ikalana lo, Ikua. Ikulana lo.
Stand unified, stand perpetually, stand as one. Work as one. Together, strive.
Iku mau mau, Ikua. Iku mau mau, Iku hulu hulu, Ikalana mau, Ikua. Ikulana mau, Ikua. Ikua uki, Ikua ko, Ikua mau, amau kai ulu, uki kulia.
As Keola's descendants voyaged to Puʻukohola on the Hokulea, they retraced their ancestors' route.
From the canoe looking towards the heiau, it appeared to me that all things had stopped in the sense of time.
And the brown cloud descended from the hill of the whale. Now, 2 centuries later, a canoe again lands at Kawaihae, and this time, those it bears are welcomed and asked to Hoʻokuʻikahi, to come together as one, to unite the peoples of Ka'u and Kohala, and to assist all Hawaiians in unifying as one. Keola's descendants are greeted and embraced with a honiihu by the descendants of Kamehameha and his chiefs in friendship with peace and prayers for unity. From the landing at Kawaihae, the 2 parties proceed together uphill to take part in awa ceremonies at the heiau above.
Ina mako elohe aina, aya ka manako loko kanko. Aya ka hua ko homai aya mako, elohe, a apuno mako. E pihai loko kalani, e amaino mako.
As participants and invited guests assemble, they are greeted with chants in our ancestral tongue, Ka'olelo Kupuna, which speaks to our entwined emotions, to our na'au, our shared feelings. They are asked to participate in an awa ceremony in a traditional and symbolic gesture of welcome.
This was an open invitation to participate in a solemn occasion, requiring serious practice, dedication, fully without censure, attention to authentic learning of protocol, and faith in our ancestors to guide the process.
Prepared by the servants of the host, this drink represents the waters of Kane, the giver of life.
Ave mai na au makoia makou. Kau I kapiko I luna. Eia to vai o Kane. Me oi taka. Mana koki o kia. Mau te
The kiaha'awa, the cup, is shared as a token of peace and unification by the direct descendants of Kamehameha and Keola Kuahu'ula. Kane of the living waters, revive us, your offspring. Here is an offering.
What had taken place on that day was the beginning of unification. Drinking of the ava on that day was also a pledge of unification.
E ulu kini o ke akua, ulu. Gather ye host of gods, come kane and kanaloa. Here, water, water of life. Life, give us life. The life that is being renewed at this place through these ceremonies binds us one to the other. Representatives, Oli, chant to the gods in gratitude, proclaiming a shared heritage in an ancestral voice. Traditional Maori leaders from Aotearoa pay their respects to Kamehameha and their Hawaiian cousins, reconnecting ancestral links between all Polynesian peoples. Samoan chiefs from American Samoa pay their respects to Kamehameha and to the historic occasion being celebrated.
Kamehameha, his blood ties is with all of us as a family of Polynesia. We're very grateful that we're here to commemorate this special occasion. You have rekindled the hearts and the minds of all our Polynesian people that we are from the same roots and from the same tree.
The sounding of the pahu, the sacred temple drum, the official ceremony begins. As participants and guests gather below the heiau for formal ceremonies and presentations of gifts, a select company of 40 Hawaiian men, Nakua, take their places as sentinels to support and protect the arriving Aluali'i, the royal courts of Kamehameha and Keoła's descendants. The Aluali'i take their places to preside over the ceremonies. Kahili kumulau are brought down to the lele, the altar of offering, where the ho'okupu, the gifts, will be given. An image of Ku'ukohola presides over the ceremonies as the great black and white kahili kapu, feather standards of the ali'i, are in place. Na pu'lo'ulo'u, the kapu sticks, accompany the image of Kunuia Kea from the heiau. Here, Na Kahuna, the priest, representing the order of Holo'ai, preside again at this temple of state.
The role here is the heiau, which is of the kahuna. The role here is the nakoa. The role here is also of the haku'olelo, the words of wisdom. The role here has to do with servants, those who are willing to serve others in the sense that they come to serve the common good.
Representatives from Ka'u and Kohala approach the lele. Here, in a symbolic gesture of reunification, the cloak of Keola is returned to his descendants as a first step toward Hoʻokuʻikahi, unifying as one. The two clans take their places side by side upon the hill to observe the presentation of Hoʻokupu.
My role was to bring something to represent Waipiʻo and my ancestors who came from Waipiʻo, and to share with our ancestors that were there at that time that I am very thankful, and to let them know that I care and that I practice these things.
Polynesians from Samoa, the Marquesas, Rapa Nui, Tahiti, and Aotearoa gather to witness this historic occasion. Invited guests also include members from Hawaiian societies and organizations, all joining together to complete the family tree of Polynesia. Nawa'alalani receive offerings of ava root from a high-ranking Samoan delegation. As part of the protocol of this section of the ceremony, alana and mohai are offered as well. These symbolic and ceremonially prescribed offerings of a ka'au, a full count of 40 pieces, are given in the form of first fruits of the land and the sea. Maori delegations from Aotearoa, representing the Ngati Porou, Tuhoi, and Wanganui tribes, bring cultural treasures as gifts.
This is all part of it. Touching those places where our ancestors have gone. And we are going to do all these things once more to remember what we already know, so we can complete what we come here to do, to interact with each other in the form of aloha. What our ancestors remind us that all things is love.
There's no ha'ina to this stuff. It's like a puana. It keeps on going and going.
Our job today that we have to let our people know, our chants, our language, that has to continue. Because as long as that continues, we live.
All things are beginning to happen in the sense of completion, not only here but elsewhere throughout the world, especially with our cousins throughout Polynesia.
It's a poem, it's a prayer, it's a song that we live.
The darkness is on the mountain, darkness is on the sea. At sea is an omen, in the wide sea, the stars high above, low the moon, let that which is unknown be known.
Like me kala I ha'alele ya kākou, pu'ili ka pō ya kākou. No nā manawa I loko na mea apau, me ka ha'a ka mākou.
As the day leaves us, the night embraces us. For all times and in all things, we humbly ask for guidance to unify as one, strength to unify as one, vision to unify as one, justice to unify as one, and mana to empower us as we come together to unify as one.
Hoʻokuʻikahi, 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 Elohim mamona buana bula bula na kamai na kamaka maka eola kaviwo ole Kamehameha eola ke koa o ke ua.
Participation in the bicentennial observance at Puʻukohola heiau did not end with the 1991 event. Rather, it became a place to gather, a rallying point that has inspired hundreds every year since then to return to Kawaihae to reaffirm ancestral ties, to resume traditional protocols, to reclaim their cultural identity as Hawaiians. To make personal gifts and offerings of oli, hula, lua, and na mea Hawaiʻi. These participants stand as witnesses to the mana ever present at the hail of the whale. Puʻukohola continues to live through the earnest prayers and practice of those who have come before, and through those who continue to journey here. They have heard and answered the shout to assemble. They come dispersed from all corners of the islands and leave as family, standing in support of one another. They come in search of renewal and are affirmed through their participation in rituals and ceremonies. They come hungry for knowledge and are nurtured here. Listen, all descendants, the choicest, the landed, the children, to the multitude. May the undauntedness of Kamehameha live on. May the courage of Keola continue to live. Let us come together, stand together, pull together in pride. Live, live, native sons and daughters of Hawaiʻi.